Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. How we doing, brothers and sisters? I know it's been a while, but I am back. I will be trying to post more frequently on the channel, but we're going to get right into it. Um, I don't know how many of my followers or casual viewers have heard of the brother Marc Lamont Hill. He used to be a figure on mainstream media. He basically got fired, pushed out because of his stance on Gaza and the genocide there. Long before October 7th, he's been speaking up long before. So he's an ally. Um, but this brother here, who I have a lot of respect for and a lot of love for because of the work that he does and the way he carries himself and the way he represents us as a people. I'm not sure of his religion. Um, I kind of feel like he is a Muslim, but Allah knows best. And if you heard some of the things he said or how he speaks, he's also given speeches at Islamic conferences and things like that, and spoken from an Islamic perspective. So this is why I believe in my heart that he's a Muslim, but he hasn't put that out there openly. Also, with his firm stance on Gaza, that can be another reason. But the reason I'm reacting to this brother's video today is because I've noticed, and this is for the African American community, not even the Muslim community, just the African American community in general. When we have strong figures, right, in the media space or in the activist space who aren't afraid to speak up for us, who are going to actually report honestly, who are going to do their job with integrity, right? Like this brother, Marc Lamont Hill. And then he is pushed out and cast out of, the media space that he is in, doing what he loves to do, probably making a certain amount of money that he would like to make for his family and everything, right? When we got these individuals who they try to push out and keep down because of their humane stance on things, why is it that we don't support them the way we need to? And this isn't the only reason. I'll get to another reason why I'm reacting to this video. But the reason I'm reacting to his videos is because I'm a small channel. There's not a lot I can do. But I would like to shine some light on this brother and what he is doing. And that's just my honest opinion, because he went from mainstream media to starting his own YouTube channel. He does appear on the Joe Budden podcast, and I do think he works with Al Jazeera from time to time, and another agencies from time to time. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know. But he started his own YouTube channel, and I've been slowly watching it grow. It's been growing very slowly from what I feel like it should be, from who he is and the work that he does. And I say this in contrast to watching figures such as Candace Owens. Candace Owens, who's on the right, she's a part of our community also as an African American woman. But the stances that she takes are opposed mostly to African Americans. And I wouldn't say all of them, because I like Candace. I watch her a lot. I agree with her a lot. But a lot of the stances she does take, she's 50-50 with me, are opposed to the benefit of our people, right? And to the benefit of Muslims in general. But when she left the media space she was in, when she got casted out, well, how well has she been doing? She really drops a video where she's not cracking 1 million. And I know certain people in the media space are jealous, stuff a lot, but it is what it is. And I also say this in contrast to Tucker Carlson. who also got shunned from the media space he was in for certain reasons. But remember, he's also on the right, but he's a Caucasian individual. And when he's dropping a video, he's doing numbers. I don't know if it's the things that they're talking about, because that could be a good indicator too. Maybe they're talking about some controversial things. Candace, she does get controversial. Tucker does get controversial. Maybe Lamont Hill doesn't get that controversial. Maybe that's something he needs to change, but I don't think the man would want to jeopardize his integrity or the things that he feel matter, and I can respect that. But go pay this brother some attention. Go subscribe to his channel. You can find him easily on YouTube, Marc Lamont Hill. Everything will pop right up. But we're gonna react to this video with him going over some things that Norman Finkelstein said about Van Jones on Twitter. Now, I watched a little bit of it before I decided I actually wanted to dive deeper into it, because I wasn't paying attention. I just know he was talking about Norman Finkelstein. Norman Finkelstein has been an ally too, and a strong advocate for Palestinian freedom against the injustices of Israel, and he's a Jewish person. He's very knowledgeable. You know, he's debated a lot of people on this topic, and he's pretty much well respected. So this could be a stain, but we'll see. Let's let Marc talk about it.
Called F. Van Jones. You can also see some of my other commentary on it for the last few days. But beyond all of that, Norman Finkelstein decided that he would respond to Van Jones. And when Norman Finkelstein responded, it went a little bit different than when I responded. It went a little bit different than when some of your other favorites responded. Norman Finkelstein said some things that I got to be honest, I didn't even know Norman could say, not because I didn't think he was clever enough, but because I didn't think that he was petty enough. But and
he's saying that because if you've ever, like, and a lot of you guys and ladies might be familiar with Norman Finkelstein, because if you are an advocate for Palestinian freedom, I think you would be aware of this individual. He's saying that the things Finkelstein was saying was kind of like off, because like if you listen to him talk, he's very slow with it, meticulous with what he's going to say, very thought out, you know. He doesn't just spout things. So
Norman decided to jump on the Twitter, or X, excuse me, and say the following. Check this out, y'all. First thing he does is he tweets a picture of Van Jones from Bill Maher still. And he says, why is Van Jones wearing a Pimps blazer when he's so obviously a high-priced call girl? Of course, he's saying that he is a sellout and that he is whoring himself out, to use the callous expression, to design.
Now, Van Jones is not an ally for our people, if you know who that is. He's more or less a sellout, if you ask me. But I think, again, where the sensitive parts of what's going on with Mr. Finkelstein comes into play is that Van Jones is a black guy. Finkelstein is Jewish, but more or less he can be seen as a white guy. And when you're of a different race, you know, I say race in air quotes because there's only one race, the human race. But when you're of a different race construct, I would say, you have to watch certain things that you say about another racial construct. You understand? So you can't, that's like, you know, you guys know what I'm saying. Come on.
Zionists or to Israel or to whoever. But that's the point. Van Jones said, why is, or Norman Finkelstein said, why is Van Jones wearing a Pimps blazer when he's so obviously a high-priced call girl? that was a lot.
Basically calling him a high-priced hoe, but he didn't want to put hoe. So how do you call somebody a high-priced hoe but try to do it in a nice way? A thug for the law. He's a high-priced call girl.
But
I don't know if I would consider
things
that
happen.
racist,
People say things.
But
also, I don't hate the jacket, for the record. Van Jones is trash. The jacket, I ain't mad at it. Then
what else?
He tweets another time. The question that the whole world is asking: when Van Jones F's his mistress, does he wear the yellow ribbon? Of course, yellow ribbon is alluding to the kind of solidarity with Israel and the hostage return and all that stuff. But he says, when Van Jones F's his mistress, does he wear the yellow ribbon? Now, I don't know.
That's an insult, basically saying that, he's selling himself. But that one right there that's also not a racist comment.
About Van Jones having a mistress.
We do not support any ads on this channel.
Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is common knowledge. I don't know. I wasn't interested enough in Van Jones' personal life to go Google it. Although I suspect we could find it relatively easily if it's true. If it's not true, shame on you. But when I saw this one, I was like, Norman is
petty
on one today. Norman is going in. He is going ham on Van Jones. And it started to feel like we were losing the plot a little bit. Like, is this okay?
Yeah, because it's not normal.
Is this beyond the boundaries of
for Norman
civility?
Finkelstein.
Is this too disrespectful? Is this too personal?
I mean, it is disrespectful and it is very personal, if you ask me. It was definitely an attack and assault. It's something that I don't think you wouldn't expect it really from Norman Finkelstein. Like you said, you would not expect it. Norman Finkelstein, he has a way better vocabulary, if you know what I'm saying, than to assault somebody verbally like this. But it gets worse, y'all.
These are the kinds of questions I was asking. Anyway. Also, how the hell did Norman Finkelstein learn how to use X? I know Norman Finkelstein. I was with Norman Finkelstein like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. No exaggeration. No more, maybe a month tops. We were flying from a city and into another place, and I had to wait for the Uber to come because Norman doesn't use Uber. He doesn't have a cell phone. So if he ain't got no cell phone, and he ain't got an app like Uber, which seems quite useful these days. We'll talk about Uber in a minute, or Lyft or whatever. How the hell is he suddenly on social media? Obviously, he didn't write it himself. He got somebody tweeting for him. So that made me go, maybe it's not his voice. Maybe someone is using their voice for him. Maybe somebody is using a comment he made off the record and tweeting it out. Because I was like, I don't understand how this could be Norman Finkelstein. But it was Norman Finkelstein.
But it was Norman.
We'll talk about that in a second. Then
Norman. I would hate to see Norman Finkelstein spiral. I would hate to see that. The way Jordan Peterson has spiraled, because he's older, just like Mr. Peterson, could have a lot of stress, a lot of things on his mind. I'm inclined to think the Israeli government want to kill him. If that's not a fact, I'm just saying that's something that I could believe. And that's something that I could believe that he might believe too, because he speaks out against them so much. But we'll see how far it goes from here, y'all.
As I was wondering if he'd gone too far, I saw this one. And this is the one that got everybody hyped.
All right, this is
Barry Weiss hires Van Jones to head up CBS News' Schwarza department.
Schwarza.
Wow. Wow.
And Mark going to tell y'all what that
All right,
word
so
is.
for those who don't know, Barry Weiss, of course, is a former writer for the New York Times, a young woman, Zionist, ascended quickly. I didn't think she'd be the head of CBS News. You know, just being head of the Free Press was a big deal. Being head of CBS News is huge. Anyway, Barry Weiss is someone who a lot of people don't care for in terms of her politics. So it's no surprise that Barry Weiss and Van Jones are friendly. In fact,
Yeah.
and that they would support each other. In fact, yesterday, Norman said, breaking story, in her first X post since becoming head of CBS News, Barry Weiss launched his campaign to defend Van Jones. Uncle Tom Lives Matter.
Okay. Now, those last two tweets or X's or whatever you want to call them, right? Those last two posts by Norman Finkelstein. The first one was he used a Yiddish word, which basically goes back to the meaning of like blackie. You know, basically the N word in Yiddish, but not the N word. You know, but basically the N word. Let's just be real. And on this one, he says, Uncle Tom Lives Matter. Basically, calling Van Jones Uncle Tom, which he might be, but then equating it with the Black Lives Matter movement, which you can't put those two together. Black Lives Matter are against the Uncle Tom type individuals. And then again, it's coming from a guy who has European skin and features. Yeah, he's Jewish, but he's when you look at him, you see a Caucasian. Let's just be honest. And with all his intellect, why would he stoop so low to use a word that's basically the Yiddish equivalent of the N word, and then to not realize who he is and call this man an Uncle Tom, as if you can call a black man an Uncle Tom. I tend to think that the title Uncle Tom is reserved for other black people to call other black people who are going outside of the interest of black people for white people. It's not for a white person to call a black person. So that's where the problem lies. And then again, he put Lives Matter in it. You know, I'm not a fan of Black Lives Matter, I'll be honest, but I'm not a fan of the way he used the Lives Matter in his tweet and his attack on Van Jones.
So now he's calling him Uncle Tom too. So he's calling him Uncle Tom, and he uses this word Zbarza. Now, if you don't know Yiddish, and it's okay if you don't know Yiddish, or if you do know Yiddish and don't know this word, although that seems unlikely, Zbarza is a derogatory term for a black person.
And Mark says unlikely. And Mark says unlikely because if you know Yiddish, he says if you don't know this word and you know Yiddish, it's unlikely because we know racism against our people is everywhere. Like when I heard them first say that Jewish hate is the hate that mutates, it made me think like, why don't black people have these type of terms and slogans? Because we know that the hate of anything with this pigment or anything close to it, darker, that is really the universal hate of this globe. We know that, like deep down inside. So it made me think like, this is hate against African Americans is really the hate that mutates.
Means black, Zvartse, like blackie, darky, whatever. It's the closest thing to the N-word we have in Yiddish. It's not the N-word. I want to be clear. It's not the N-word. But just because there's nothing that really matches the N-word linguistically in Arabic or Hebrew or Yiddish or even Spanish, French, right? I haven't seen it. If you see it, let me know. But anyway, he uses the word Schwarze, and then the world lost it. In fact, if you just look at some of the comments here, just so you see I'm not making this up. Shai Davidai, one of the big pro-Israel voices, one of the crazy professors out there. He was at Columbia University. I don't know. I think he's officially gone from Columbia now. He was a nutcase, though. But you see people calling him a racist. What the fuck is wrong with you? Extremely normal thing to say, Mr. Finkelstein, sarcastically, of course. You drop this and accuse him of being in the Klan. That's embarrassing, and race is embarrassing for you. Don't delete, etc. So you see a bunch of people accusing him of being racist. All of them are Zionists. Most of them are probably bots.
And that's another point to look out for too. Remember, he takes a strong stance against Zionism and for Palestine. So it's just beyond me. If you're so much against injustice, I'm sure you know about the injustices that happen to African Americans and Black people in the world. Period. So why would you assault the man in those type of ways? And then why would you open the door for Zionists and your enemies who are looking for any reason to discredit you and ruin you? Why would you open the door for them to now attack you with this? And for you to possibly lose allies on this side, because I looked at Norman Finkelstein as an ally. After something like this, he has to be in question. And I'm sure Michael Maher was thinking the same thing.
Both of them are probably bots. But the question is, did Norman Finkelstein go too far? So there's a few ways to think about this. First, let's get with the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
right?
I want.
Is it racist to say that the racists are calling you or treating you like an Uncle Tom? I don't love when white people use the word Uncle Tom. I had the same issue when Tim Wise used it. Tim Wise.
See, I didn't get this far into Marc's response and reaction on the video. But like he just said, it's not reserved for white people to use. Uncle Tom is not reserved for anyone who has pale skin to use against a Black person. If someone's an Uncle Tom, we know they're an Uncle Tom. And we're going to call them out. You don't have to do it. It's only going to make you look bad and you look like a racist, even if you're not. So
Wise called somebody Uncle Tom. And I know Tim Wise's politics are great. He's on the right side of the issue. But don't call people Uncle Tom. It's not for you to say. The word Schwarze is a word used in Yiddish derogatorily toward Black people. And he's saying,
again,
that Barry Weiss is going to make him the head of the Schwarze department.
That's racist.
Have you ever wondered how the world's currencies are traded? The foreign exchange market, also known as the Forex market.
That's racist. I'm curious to see what Marc's take is going to be. That's racist.
He's basically calling him an Uncle Tom and saying you're Tomming, or we would say cooning for people who don't even like you. Now, a couple things. One, I don't know Barry Weiss to be racist. I don't believe Barry Weiss is racist. Certainly not anti-Black racist. Is she anti-Palestinian? I can't imagine that she's not. So let me be clear. I'm talking about anti-Black racism right now. But that ain't the real point that Norman is making. He's saying that Van Jones is a sellout. He's saying that Van Jones should be held accountable. He's saying that Van Jones is wrong. He's saying that Van Jones has given away his principles for a mess of pottage. I get it. And he's saying the people that are doing this to you don't even rock with Black people. They're racist themselves.
Now, that's what he's saying. Clearly, an intelligent mind can understand and decipher, can read between the lines, that's what he's saying about Van Jones. But when Finkelstein uses a derogatory term in Yiddish to refer to Van Jones, it's not always about the message. It's about how you deliver it and who delivers it. So your whole message can just be missed. You feel me? Because I get the message. I understand what he's saying. But even still, for me, as somebody who can see what's really going on and understand them, it's still for me like, why would you go that far? So in my opinion, he did go too far.
Some level. Let's assume that's all true. Should you use the word Schwarze to make? Now, of course, he's not calling him a Schwarze. He's saying that those people are calling you a Schwarze. He's putting the words in their mouth. He's ventriloquating their racism. So it's not the same. So ignore all the bullshit. Mellow.
That is a good point. That is a good point. But why couldn't he articulate it that way? Why couldn't he articulate it that way? And that would be my question. Because if you can just write those few words to form that sentence, you know, why couldn't you put something in front of the word that would let us know that, you know, he's basically saying that this is what they call you, and now they're appointing you the head of that department because this is how they see you and your people in this department. Just to leave it so plain and to just with a question mark, he could have made it better.
Dramatic crocodile tears from the Zionists. First of all, y'all don't care about suffering.
That's a fact.
Certainly not rhetorical violence. Y'all don't even care about real violence if you're not speaking out against what's happening in Gaza right now.
Norman Finkelstein. We understand.
Second, it's a distraction. It's beside the point. We know what the actual issue is here. It was Van Jones saying what he said. And it was Van Jones justifying what's happening in Gaza, which is the real issue, the fundamental issue, the genocide. So anything but the genocide is a distraction.
I agree.
I hate that Norman Finkelstein used the word Schwarze. I hate that he used the word Uncle Tom. I just don't like it. I think it's not his place. However, I am not going to equate what Norman Finkelstein said with the thing or the person who he's talking about. In other words, Finkelstein and Van Jones ain't peers here. And use the word Schwarze to describe racist people or to suggest that racist people are using that word.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it there, but for the most part, I think me and Marc Lamont Hill are on the same page about how we feel about him using the words and that it's not his place, and you know, but let me know what y'all think in the comments, because I don't want to give too much leeway to Mr. Finkelstein because he's far more intelligent, and I can understand why Marc Lamont Hill would give him more leeway than most of us. He knows the man personally. So when you know someone personally, you know, like, I'll give you an example. I had this job, right? I had a manager there, Caucasian guy. Cool, real cool. One of the best managers there. He said something one day. I'm not going to get into it. It wasn't really racist. They fired him saying he was racist. I know he's not racist. He knows he's not racist. Most of the people there who worked with him know he wasn't racist. It's just you weren't the person to be saying what you said. And you shouldn't have said it how you said it. So the consequences happened. And that can be the case here. So maybe next time Norman Finkelstein will think about the words he chooses, but I'm hopeful that Marc Lamont Hill will talk to him and let him know, like, we can't be doing that, brother. But again, go and subscribe to Marc Lamont Hill's channel. He's got about 200,000 subscribers over there. Go support the brother. Also, subscribe, like, hit the bell notification over here, and help me grow this channel too. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Everybody have a blessed day.